50 puts it out on social media and said, I was happy to meet Jones. This other guy photobombed my picture.
Shut up, Chael.
It was so embarrassing. Well, because it's the truth that hurts. That's exactly what happened.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Daniel Cormier. That is Chael Sonnen. Chael P, what's up, dog? You look, hey, we got a little different start time now. You look wide-eyed, refreshed. How was your weekend?
I got to tell you, man, 30 minutes will take you a long way. I don't wake up when I want to or even with an alarm. I have a dog. So the dog decides when I wake up. And it doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, and we deal with a lot of both in Oregon. We got to hit that door at 6 a.m. or else. It's this total meltdown. And that's before the little maniacs get up. So, yeah, a couple extra minutes, another cup of coffee. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, you look pretty good, man. You look refreshed. We got that Thursday off, actually, and now we're ready to go. Chael, you know what's funny to me? I have been in arguments with people for the last 2.5 years on Conor McGregor. I argued with you. I argued with Ben Askren. I argued with Michael Chandler. I have been doing my world tour of arguments saying that Conor McGregor is coming back. Last weekend, Conor McGregor says that he's now going into politics. Bro, sadly, I'm finally ready to say it's over. I remember you and I had a conversation. I'm like, oh, Chael, you're like the girlfriend that just keeps hanging on to the popular boyfriend when you know he's going away from you. He's done, Chael. It's over, my brother.
You got to understand, what part of it would he come back for? We're told by him that he doesn't need the money. We can see that his time is occupied. I mean, a lot of fighters got to cling to the sport because they have nothing else to do. He's got a beating standing in front of him. We can go 55, we can go 70, we can make up a weight class. There is not an athlete under contract with the Ultimate Fighting Championships located in Southern Nevada that he can beat. And I don't even mean that to be a jerk. When they bring him back, they put him in a main event. You put a guy in a main event, all of a sudden you're asking him to do 5 rounds. We got a guy that can't breathe for a full round. This is just a reality. There's nothing to come back for. The golden rule of life, my mother would tell me this when I was a little boy, put yourself in their shoes. What would you do? And there's no reason to come back. There just isn't. There's an ass whipping waiting for you. Apparently life is good without it. He can still make headlines without it. He still gets put on our show without it. What would be the mechanism that he needs or that would draw him back? And Daniel, when I really rake my brain, and I'm only confined to my own creativity, when I get creative and think, what would this be for? I can't come up with an answer.
Yeah. So initially I thought the reason he was coming back to fight Chandler was because he might have believed that he still needed to fight and win to be relevant. Because while he's always been popular, when Khabib beat him after he had lost to Floyd Mayweather, it was kind of like on a downturn. And then he beat Cowboy Cerrone with the shoulders, and it was all fast, and everybody was like, oh my God, Conor's back. He must have felt a spike in his popularity, right? And I believe that made him go, okay, I'm going to fight Dustin Poirier next. But I think the biggest part to your statement that I can appreciate was there's a beating waiting. And I don't know that I agree with there's no one on the roster he can't beat. There's no one on the roster that would get to fight him that he could beat in that situation because he makes so much money. He is a main event. He is going to have to headline and draw all the attention and everything. So it has to be an opponent that matters. Now, I thought Michael Chandler was the ideal opponent because Michael Chandler was going to stand up with him, strike with him, and that would give him an opportunity. But I don't know, man. After watching Chandler with his heart, as it's always on display against Oliveira, I don't know that Conor just puts him out like I might have thought initially when the fight was announced. So, yeah, I agree. There's no reason. And because there's not a guy that he could fight in that position that I don't know that he can get through because they're going to give him somebody relatively tough because he's Conor McGregor.
And if I can give you my final thought on this, but he made a comment. And one thing about Conor is he has always peddled in truth. He can make it entertaining. He can scream at your face. But if you look back at the things he said, he had a way of making things happen constantly. Yeah. He was always telling the truth when he talked about how great he was, how fast he was, how powerful he was, that this opponent has a problem with southpaw, that I can stay on my feet and not get taken down. It all turned out to be true. But he made a statement, Daniel, and it was a small one, but my ears picked up on it. And he simply said, greatness is not rushed. And he made this statement 4 days ago. And I remember going, for the first time ever, that's not true. If you do not have an urgency, if you do not feel like I got to do this and I got to do it now, there's something inside you. It's burning, it's driving. If you can actually kick the can and live with that, you've got the option to compete, but you choose not to. Greatness is rushed. Everything in sport, everything that you got to do, it's got to be done, and it's got to be done right now. And that used to be his mindset. And when he put that simple sentence out, I saw it and I said, it is a wrap.
It was greatness, though, Chael. We got to be, like, if we're being truthful with each other, you're right. That, you got to go chase down those goals, because you never know if there's been some times in my life where you have people call you and something may happen to them or something whenever you don't answer. And you're like, I should have picked up the phone call. It's time, right? You can never replace time. So when you do that, right, in sports, it's like, I can't go, tomorrow's the day that I start to become great. No, every day is a race to greatness. And Chael, I didn't even know he said that. But yeah, that speaks to the difference, because the Conor McGregor of 15 and 17 and 16, the one that went 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather, that Conor McGregor was in a rush to greatness. And if that's gone, it's over. That's a wrap, man. But to be a politician, he wants to be a politician. I think people in Ireland don't even like him, Chael. Like, everybody I speak to are like, they can't stand this dude. But I guess he feels like he has enough support to go into politics there.
I will just tell you this, Daniel. Fame is a drug, and I've been bit by this before, particularly after fights. You've got all this attention, your personal world. It could be your neighbors, the friends, your people see you at the store, your phone's going off, your social media. Regardless of the outcome of the fight, when the fight is over, that you're sitting in silence. And it's one of these things where you need that drug and you need that fix. I have gone to Twitter and put out a tweet of a level of ridiculous that I normally wouldn't have done just to get attention for it. That's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to tell you that, but it's true. And I do see Conor trying to get that narcissistic supply. I see him going out and getting headlines and saying whatever it is to get some interaction going on social media. It's very hard to replace that walk, to replace a weigh-in, to replace a press conference, to replace all the bells and whistles that come along with the UFC. The last thing the fighter wants to do is throw punches and kicks and have punches and kicks thrown back at him. The reason we do this is for all the fun that surrounds those punches and kicks. So I only share that the level of ridiculousness that Conor will go to get attention, I don't think knows any bounds. It is truly a drug, and it's very hard to get that attention unless you're making big statements that get a reaction.
Yeah, HL, my way is to get, like, it's self-pity. Oh, I don't want to do this no more. Like, it's like the NCAA tournament. This guy's picking on me. I quit. And then everybody's like, oh, please come back. Like, that's the one I do, Chael. That's me. It's like, I don't go and do anything boastful. I do, like, some self-serving pity. I'm really good at getting pity, Chael, and I
hey, Daniel, I remember that. I remember at the tournament when your feelings were hurt a year ago. Imagine you really didn't come back. You would not have been part of the greatest match, the biggest match in history. I mean, really, right? Like, it's one of those things where you've got to get through it. And that's really what a fighter is. Like, that word's been corrupted over my lifetime to where now it's about punches and kicks. But that's actually the definition of aggression. A fighter is somebody that goes forward when it's easier to stay in place. Yeah, absolutely, man. This is it is a bit ridiculous. The politic angle for me is a little ridiculous, but we'll see what happens. Chael, you know what's so last weekend I'm in Mexico City, and I have this idea of Mexico City that it's dangerous, because everybody goes, oh, Mexico, it's so dangerous. You got to be careful. You got to watch this. So I go to these foreign countries, and I am as cautious as any human being you've ever seen. Like, we told the Dominic Cruz story a few weeks ago about Brazil. I don't go anywhere in Brazil. I literally sit in my hotel room and don't leave because I feel that was the safest. Unfortunately, it's stupid because you start to miss out on things. Mexico City is wonderful. It's humongous. And, bro, honestly, where we stayed looked like Beverly Hills. So I'm in Mexico City for Moreno versus Steve Erceg last weekend. Beautiful setting, full arena, great fights. Chael, for a fight night, I don't know that I've had a better time in a long time. Now, I'm sure there's been better fight nights. There was one in Columbus a few years ago that was just insane. But in terms of the fights, in terms of the crowd, how hot the crowd was, Mexico City brought it, dude. It was nuts. It's unbelievable from a viewer standpoint. I mean, I will just tell you, we're in England a week ago. These guys are doing international business. They're selling out arenas. Yeah. They did a $2.8 million gate. That was record setting back when I was with the company, and I was only there a decade ago. Now this is just the norm. Daniel, you remember when we were growing up, it was the most exciting time in the world when you found out there was a Saturday night's main event that was going to replace Saturday Night Live. And you would do anything, but they upped the level of production. They brought out the big names, the guys that you were familiar with, just stuff that you couldn't get. The UFC's doing this every Saturday now. I mean, from a purely business standpoint, this is something that Dana called and predicted. He said there's not too much football, there's not too much baseball, because a lot of people were telling him, you can't do this much MMA, it's too much. And he said it's not too much of any other sport. It was another one of those things that proved to be true. They've got their own venue in Las Vegas. I thought they would be leaning on their own venue more often, but it's one of these cases where all these towns are recruiting and asking, and please come in, and they're showing the support, and the UFC accommodates.
Yeah. And when you bring fights like we had last Saturday, unbelievable. So Brandon Moreno fought,
real fast. Yeah. What was the word on the street going around about Joe Pfeiffer when he pulled out of that fight with Kelvin? Like we're still a little bit unclear through the North American media as to what happened there. What did happen there?
So him and his team went and ate dinner at an Italian restaurant across the street from the hotel. The coach and Joe got sick. Look, chill. I'll tell you, man. This is so hilarious. In those nice places, they tell you, no, all of our water's filtered. You can drink the ice. Even though you know, like, you're not supposed to drink the ice in Mexico. Like, you're not supposed to. And I think Joe Pfeiffer and I, we leaned into everything was filtered. He got sick. Projectile vomit, diarrhea, everything. There's no way he could fight. Joe Pfeiffer lost like 10 pounds after getting sick.
Oh, after the weigh-in? Wow.
Yes, he got sick bad. So, yes, he was really, really sick. And Chael, while most times we are like, I don't know about that. Trust me, Chael, my bathroom yesterday, being that I'm back home, tells you not to drink the ice in Mexico City. Bro, I spent the whole night in the bathroom. I've been sick myself. It's crazy. But I can afford to lose some weight. I'm not Joe Pfeiffer, right? So it's like really helping me. The fight night was based around Brandon Moreno taking on Steve Erceg. Chael, Brandon Moreno wins another fight, 4-1 in terms of rounds. Erceg, at times, looked fantastic, but he looked like he was sparring. It looked like he didn't want to sit down on anything, but Brandon was sitting down on everything. With that being said, Moreno's never far from a title fight, especially when you beat Amir Albazi and then you beat Steve Erceg back-to-back. Do you have interest in a fourth fight between him and Pantoja?
Not right now. I just simply don't right now, but I also don't dispute the number one contendership. Look, we've had number one contenders before. Colby Covington comes to mind, where he clearly had separated himself from the field, but he'd been in there a couple of times with Kamaru Usman. It was just kind of hard to get him there. Max lived in that role for over 2 years with Volkanovski. So we have seen this before. I don't know that I've seen Moreno look so good. He is a very awkward looking fighter. And this is from where I'm sitting. I can see everything much better than the opponent who's dealing with the anxiety and being right in there with him. And even I'm confused at what he's going to do. When he goes on the offense, he takes a defensive posture every time, yet throws offense. Yeah. He throws nothing one at a time. If he can touch you once, he's going to touch you twice. If he touches you twice, I mean, it's very basic with that 1-2, and he comes back with the hook. Then he gets himself out of the way. Then he comes and resets. And I'm just watching Moreno go, man, you are really good. And I spent a month out at the Apex. And there was some guy that kept getting in this hyperbaric chamber. And the chamber was right there in the same room that I was in, where I was coaching Ultimate Fighter. But it only had one window, and you couldn't quite see through it. But this guy was in there every day at 8:30 in the morning. That guy was Brandon Moreno. He was getting ready for the elevation of Mexico. He was putting a massive emphasis on his conditioning. I never saw him. I watched this guy train every day. I never saw him throw a punch. I never saw him throw up an arm bar. Now, I'm sure he had those sessions too. I'm just sharing for you what I personally witnessed was nothing but cardio. That cardio paid off. Steve Erceg has an amazing pace, but that pace was well behind Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, he was in phenomenal shape, and Brandon Moreno had been fighting there 4 times. That was his 4th fight in Mexico City. Chael, he had never won. He had headlined twice. He had fought on the fight card before. He had never won a fight in Mexico City. But I mean, it was perfect, man. He's a star. Like, he is fighting in Mexico. I get it. Alexa Grasso was a world champion. I get it that Yair Rodriguez was a world champion. But this guy is like fighting in Mexico. The reception that he got, his ability to compete and compete hard, to fight at the pace that he wants to fight, and really swing things. Because after round 2, Steve Erceg had the momentum. But then Brandon Moreno just went right back to work, got forward, and he asked me in the cage, he goes, who's the better boxer? Because everybody spoke about the better boxer in the UFC at 125. Is it Moreno? Is it Erceg? Moreno feels like he proved that. My issue with him getting another title fight is this. We can't be in a situation where we just got out of with Davison and Brandon, where those guys fought 4 times, and then everybody is just kind of watching them. That's not what you want for your division. I understand at times you have 2 guys that separate themselves from the crowd. But, I mean, it's hard because right now, Royval is the number 1 contender. Pantoja already beaten him twice. Brandon is number 2. Pantoja and him have fought multiple times. Pantoja's won. Amir Albazi just got beat by Brandon. The champion beat Erceg. The champion beat Kai Asakura. I mean, Tatsuro Taira and Kai Kara-France are the 2 guys that we have not seen the champ beat, or I don't know. Maybe he beat Kai Kara-France. I don't know. It's like the champion is so good and the number 1 contender is so good that they just keep going. But I think that this weight class cannot continue to have 2 guys fighting constantly because, dude, if that happens for the last 6 years, Chael, we'll have 8 fights between 2 dudes for the championship. That can't happen.
Well, and the play here that I feel a few guys are missing, for all the reasons you and I stated, Moreno is not likely to be fighting for the championship next. However, he is the top guy. He is the top ranked guy. But I just think the play is for someone like Kai Kara to come after Moreno. I think you and I could agree at a minimum if somebody can find a way to get the jump on Moreno. Now, first, you got to get the fight. You got to make that walk, get in shape. There's a lot that goes into it. But if you can get your hand raised against Moreno and handed a microphone, you are likely to be given a world title fight. And at this point at 125, we got some pretty good options, but we don't have anybody that's really stepped forward. We don't have anybody that's just crystal clear. I mean, not for nothing, Moreno is the leading candidate. I think he's going to have a hard time getting that match, but he is the leading candidate. He's the only guy that's come out publicly and asked for it. That goes a long way.
Chael, I got to tell you something. And I do agree, but I got to tell you something, Chael. So there are a lot of times I don't understand how, right, or why fan gets so excited to meet you. Now, when they do, I always am gracious because I am lucky to have fans, as we all are, right? Because we're just people. So, but because you and I have not been fans for a while, we meet people and we don't have that reaction. I had one the other day, Chael. It was the craziest thing. Chael, I know now. I am every fan. So, guys, if you want to come up to me and you freak out, do it because I did it. So the other day, I'm sitting at the commentary desk. Bro, in walks Julio Cesar Chavez. Whoa. Chavez walks in, bro. The place goes nuts. He's in like, I mean, Chavez is dressed to the nines. And you know, if we follow boxing, he's a man. Bro, Chavez walks in, Chael. I jump out of my seat. Chael, I'm waving at him. Chael, I'm seriously standing there waving at Chavez like this. So he looks at me and he kind of goes, hi. And then he goes and asks the Ozzy from the UFC to get a picture with me. I had no idea that he knew that I was the champ. I'm waving at Chavez like, Cesar Chavez, Cesar Chavez. I had an involuntary reaction to Julio Cesar Chavez. So now I understand. So fans, if you want to freak out, run up to me, some of you hug me. Hey, dude, I'm never stopping you anymore because chill. I had that reaction because I remember as a kid watching Chavez and like, he was essentially Brandon Moreno, right? Like he was boxing for Mexico and he was a star. Dude, I've never had that. That has not happened to me. I don't think it's ever happened to me where I had a reaction like that. It's crazy.
George Masvidal introduced me to the Hands of Stone's Roberto Duran. So I fully understand. I would be very excited to meet Chavez. I would love to meet Sugar Ray Leonard. Daniel, have you ever been in a situation where somebody comes up and they ask the guy next to you for a photo? So you know that they're a fan, so you just assume they're going to want me to, and you've jumped in on it. Have you ever done that? Some people call it a photo bomb. Daniel, I did one of those. 50 Cent asked Jon Jones for a picture. I was standing John included me. John recognized the social awkwardness. He goes, oh, Chael, get over. So I jump in there. I know I don't belong. 50 did not ask me for my picture. 50 puts it out on social media and said, I was happy to meet Jones. This other guy photobombed my picture.
Shut up, Chael.
It was so embarrassing. Well, because it's the truth that hurts. That's exactly what happened. I knew he didn't ask me to be there. And I'm just hanging out. Then they're kind of like leaning their heads together, and I'm out and I'm trying to like break. The whole thing was awkward, man. The whole thing was awful.
It gets awkward at times. But yes, I met the great Julio Cesar Chavez. And it was awesome watching him. The way he was like coaching Brandon Moreno before the fight. Like it was an amazing thing. But one thing about those Mexican themed fights, all right, or Mexico, being in Mexico, yo, you and I will never put on a Spanish station and hear mariachi music and leave it on. Sure. Because when it comes on, I'm turning this. I ain't listening to this, man. Sure, what is this? I don't. But when you're in the arena, you're forced to listen to the music, and it's really, really good because they play all the mariachi. And everybody's having a great time. I love those. The thing I love most above everything, Noche UFC. UFC 320 was just announced, Chael, for Guadalajara, Mexico. There's a brand new arena there. We will be the first event inside that arena. Guadalajara, I got to be honest, I think that's where Alexa Grasso's from, but I have no idea what it is in Mexico. But all I can think, Chael, is that it's going to be a phenomenal time because we have done Noche UFC in the U.S. and a lot of Mexican Americans have gone to the fight, and it felt like we were in Mexico City, Guadalajara, somewhere down in Mexico. This time, it's going to be crazy. Are you excited about
I'm so curious. Daniel, I'm with you on that completely, and I love that tease and that whole package, but we don't have actually any rules that surround Noche. We know what the theme is, and they know what they're celebrating, but just to remind you, for the last Noche card, we didn't bring Mexicans in the main event. We brought in a Georgian in a white Mitchell Avili, and we brought in a gentleman from Arizona in the form of Sean O'Malley. So I'm only sharing with you, if we were to sit and guess what that main event's going to be, everything on the roster is on the table. We don't have to just limit it. And I think that does make it extra exciting.
Damn, Chael. They just sent me the picture of you. 50 Cent. Yeah. They just sent me the picture. Chael. Yeah.
You can see that I don't, but you can see that I know I don't.
Well, there's one of those situations where it's like one is just not like the other. You know, like they're like two brothers holding hands like that, and then you're kind of standing there like, what do I do with my hands, right? Like, you're like, okay, I'm just going to stand here and look really mean because there's nothing scarier than like the one white guy in a black picture that just looks super pissed off. So like, yes, you made the right call, Chael. You made the right call by looking pissed off, dude. I'm telling you.
Well, and I wanted to meet him. I wanted to meet 50, but but meeting 50 and being in a photo that you're not invited to, those are totally different things. Yeah. Why would he have to point that out? Why would old Curtis Jackson have to point out that Chael P?
I don't know.
Meant to be in the photo.
I don't know. I don't know. And then he says this other gentleman, everybody knows the bad guy. Come on. Everybody knows the bad guy. The other guy. Like, what's wrong with you? No, I'm the other guy, Chael. I'm the other guy. Like, everybody knows the bad guy. What are we doing here, 50 Jackson? 50 Cent Jackson? Chael. So, yes, Mexico City will be sick. I cannot wait. Guadalajara, Mexico will be sick. I had some tacos the other day. I walked around the city and got some tacos called Pastor tacos.
Oh, yeah.
I've been doing it all wrong, Chael. In Gilroy, they do make fantastic tacos. We have really good Mexican food. Problem is, I've been getting like asada and chicken. I need to be getting Pastor tacos. Pastor tacos. It's like next level. Yo, they made Pastor tacos and then they put chicharrones on top of the Pastor tacos. It was crazy, dude. The food down there was amazing.
Don't be afraid to get that El Pastor in burrito form, by the way.
Really?
You know what? Do you know about these new tacos? They're called like a birria taco.
Oh, yeah, birria.
And you dip them in the juice.
Yeah, consomme. You like it?
Fantastic.
Yo, the kid, there's so by my gym, Chael, I've got literally like by my gym, there's a 7-Eleven Mexican restaurant on this side. Then you look across the street, cat a corner, Mexican restaurant. Like there's just like so many restaurants right by my gym. The kids just eat food. We hosted a tournament, Chael, in the middle of the pandemic. It was crazy. It was like a super spreader event, Chael. We hosted a tournament in the middle of the pandemic in 2021. The kids were wrestling in this big building across the street from my gym. They were walking into the Mexican restaurant in singlets. Everybody was like, what is happening right now down the street? They're like, where are all these kids coming from? But they were falling in love with the tacos. But yes, it's called birria tacos, and people are loving them right now. Hey, we don't know who's headlining, but one thing we know is that Alex Pereira, he doesn't allow losing a fight to affect the way that he goes and interacts with the fans. He's still a massive star, Chael. Do you think that that star shines so bright because of his willingness to be like available and present in the mind of the fan? Because I always thought one of the things that made Cain Velasquez a star, made Khabib a star, is they're here when it's time to fight, and then they disappear. I always thought that the less you give people, the better they respond to you. But this guy's always around, and I think that him being ever present might be why people love him so much.
Yeah, Vince McMahon 101 was give the audience what they want, but not what they're expecting. And I just think that that's a little piece from Pierre. I don't think we expected him to surface. I don't think that we expected him to be dressed nice and not be moping around, not to mention it wasn't a pay-per-view. It's in a different country. I mean, there was a lot of things where even I at home, when they did that cameo, I kind of popped. I was really happy to see him there. I thought that he looked great. I like that he shows his face. Listen, I'll give you a juxtaposition, but it was just Ronda Rousey. We're told repeatedly how wonderful she was and that she was better than the rest of us. But the second that she lost, she never helped the sport again. She never had anybody's back. She was never getting any deals done. She was the most likely to end up on Ellen's couch, but she didn't go take that seat for anybody else unless she had her own pay-per-view. And I'm only sharing with you, if you give back, right, if you give back and you get out there and you show yourself, it's very hard to cheer for a guy if he can't handle the defeat. He's kind of got to show that he can deal with both sides of it, that life does move on, life does go forward. That simple shot of Alex Pereira, but it really told a heck of a story. And yes, I do think it's one of the big reasons that the crowd forgives him, accepts him, and is so happy to see him.
Yeah, he got the biggest ovation in that place outside of Chavez. But this guy, Pereira, he's a great dude too, man. He's so respectful. He respects the game, and his ability to stay a star speaks to something that that Terrence Crawford told Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo last week. He goes, "This is why I love MMA." He goes, "Guys can lose, and they still are relevant. They still have an opportunity to be special." He goes, "In boxing, you lose a fight and you're a bum, even if you're fighting the best guys in the world." Alex Pereira is truly the definition of what MMA is, because, I mean, we saw him lose to Adesanya. We saw him lose to Magomed, and he's as big a star today as he's ever been. He's huge, man, and I just always wish the best for the guy. He's a tremendous person. He's a tremendous fighter, and he's just a massive star.
David, can I tell you something that I overheard one time? There was a group of boxing execs, if I mention the names, you would know the names, but they were having a conversation. I'm sitting there listening in on it. And one of the things they said, and this was many years ago, this is about 2012. They said the one thing that Dana White has been able to do that in the history of boxing, we haven't, and we don't even have a plan for it. He has made losing acceptable. And they finished that statement. What they were talking about is he has advertised so much that it's iron on top of iron. His ability to promote you, to keep you level or even drive you forward, even in defeat, as long as the effort and the heart was there. They said, we don't want to do that in boxing. We get a guy with a loss, it's hard to main event him. We get a guy with 3 losses, you couldn't world title him. We get a guy with 7 losses, he's considered a bum. We might not be able to even license him. Whereas meanwhile, Dana, I'll just use Randy Couture for an example because I know it off the top of my head, but his final record was 17-11. He didn't have the world's greatest record, but he fought nothing but main events. He did nothing but sell out arenas. He was never on a card where they didn't put his face the biggest on the poster. He made losing acceptable. And I think that there's a better way to phrase that. I just know that you will remember that one. There is something about the UFC, the effort, the get up, the go forward, iron on top of iron, where the crowd does forgive the outcome.
You know, when boxing was doing the fights where you match up the guy that's supposed to fight the Pacquiao versus the Marquez, and you doing Holyfield and Tyson and Holyfield and Foreman, Holyfield and Michael Moore. Then, because people recognize that this was heavyweight title fights, this was evenly matched and the best in the world, so guys may lose, we were happy to watch a rematch between guys with losses. Today, though, they're putting so much emphasis on the zero in boxing. And I think at the level of boxing is just not as high So you can't get as many guys that match up as well as we had back in the day. So Pereira losing, it doesn't really dim his light at all.
Daniel, it doesn't bother me. I forget all the time that he lost. I mean, where do we say that he lost? He was a main event. He's still a main event. He's fighting for world titles. He's still fighting for world titles. I mean, in fairness, it's a push.
Absolutely. Right. And you're right, Chael. That speaks to the star that he is. But from one Brazilian star to another, Chael, Carlos Prates, the Fighting Nerds, right? You and I give them so much credit for their team and what they have done. Carlos Prates was supposed to fight Jeff Neal in Miami in a couple weeks, and it was one that we were really looking forward to because we saw Jeff Neal, unfortunately, finds himself in a position where these young guys, when they are trying to make their way into the elite of the division, they fight Jeff. Remember, Jeff fought Stephen Wonderboy Thompson back in the day because Wonderboy was going to be that guy. Stephen beat him, but Jeff fought Ian Machado Gary, but he fought him very close. Jeff fought Shavkat Rakhmonov. He fought Shavkat really well. Jeff was going to fight Carlos Prates. Jeff Neal's out of the fight. Carlos Prates is off of UFC 314 in Miami. It's disappointing for me. How disappointing is it for you?
I was very surprised that we pulled him off. I understand Jeff Neal, and I want him to get well soon. I'll just share for you. I felt like there was enough time. I feel like Prates is a big enough name. I think that possibly it was underestimated how much the fans and pundits like you and I were looking forward to seeing Prates go out there, represent the Fighting Nerds, move that brand forward, take on Jeff Neal. I was a little surprised the effort to bring in a different opponent. Kamaru Usman comes to mind. I was a little surprised Colby Covington comes to mind. That effort wasn't made. I think it's a miss unless they're going to take that exact fight and just put it somewhere else. That used to be the norm. If a fight came off the card, you put that same fight somewhere else. That isn't as much the norm over the last 24 months where they might even break a fight up. It might just never happen again. Let's see how that plays out. But I do think there was an underestimation by the promotion of how much we all enjoy seeing Prates fight.
Absolutely. And he teased something big, but I gotta be like with the I got something big. You guys will be surprised. I'm over it. I'm over with it. When Ilya did it, I love Ilya, but Ilya saying it when I'm like, oh, if you fight for the belt, it's kind of expected. Prates, I mean, if you get a good fight, I mean, if you say you fight Gilbert Burns and he's number 8, it's like, okay, it's not anything that surprises me. You've earned that. I think the fighters need to stop being surprised because once you realize you earned it, it's not surprising. But he teased something big. He said that if it's not Jeff Neal, I don't know, Chael, who would you want to see him fight? So Michael Morales is number 12. You can't put him in there with Morales because you don't want to burn 2 prospects right now. Wonderboy Thompson is 11. Jeff Neal's 10. Colby's 9, and Gilbert Burns is number 8. Does it have to be one of those guys, or is there someone else that you would like to see Prates fight? And Michael Venom Page is 15, and you for damn sure can't put him out there with Michael Venom Page because Michael Venom Page makes everybody look, even when he lost to Ian Gary, it was so close because they can't figure out. And then he beats Shower Bullet. So like you got to be careful who you match up with Page.
Yeah, well, it is very interesting. When you're talking about Carlos Prates specifically, though, I think that if you were to do a short notice fight, such as just replace Jeff Neal, you could have gone the other way. You could have gone to a Michael Chiesa even, and you're not really looking at the rankings. I'm just sharing for you like what you can do on short notice. We could make Money Moicano a very accepted number 1 contender, which in any other circumstance than Saruki and missing weight and changing the card the day before, we wouldn't have been able to get there. So I do think the best answer, if we're just looking matchups, is we wait till Jeff Neal gets better and we just re-put those guys in the cage. But it is time. I mean, I really think the Fighting Nerds, they were recognized in front of our industry at the World MMA Awards, and they were given the award for Gym of the Year. I mean, I think that it is time that maybe some people do understand these guys, their little gimmick worked. Their little idea got over. Their incredibly lopsided win-loss record is a real thing. I'd like to see the Fighting Nerds get a little bit of a push, I must tell you. Yeah,
it's time. We got to go back to the writing room, Chael. If we're in the WWE, we're in the writing room figuring out how to move them forward like the Horsemen did back in the day. You know, when you get a stable like this, Chael, you have to capitalize on the stable. You cannot allow it to be wasted. Chael, speaking of welterweights, though, one of the greatest welterweights of all time, Kamaru Usman, was speaking about his future, right? We have not seen Usman for a while. How long has it been, Jake? Throw that in the chat. I think the last time we saw Usman, he fought Hamzat Chimaev in Abu Dhabi, hell, that might be almost 2 years ago. Fought him on very short notice. He was able to fight him very competitively. And by the end of the third round, most thought that if it was a 5-round fight, it would have gone Usman's way. Usman was talking about, so yeah, he fought him on October 21st, 2023, almost a year and a half ago. Usman said, I have my eyes on 3 people. Sean Brady, number 1, Buckley, number 2, Joaquin Buckley, or Shavkat Rakhmonov, number 3. Is Kamaru Usman in a position here today to still be able to call his shot, Chael?
He's in a position to align his troops, and he's got a very good audience. I will just tell you, as a fan of Kamaru Usman, even a personal friend, I can't get a direction out of him. When I go read his interviews, I can't get a direction. He will change his mind repeatedly. I think that he's one of these guys that's, title fight or bust, number 1 contenders fight or bust. But he hasn't actually said that, and as the weeks turn into months and they turn into years, it's just one of these spots. When you see him, he looks fantastic. You talk to Justin Gaethje, one of his top training partners. Apparently, Kamaru is in the gym, and he's in there regularly. On the other side, I have a hard time believing that in the last year and a half, the organization has not offered him a fight or 2 or 3. And somewhere behind the scenes, there does become a question of how bad do you want to do this? I've always thought everything should be on the table for Kamaru Usman. World title fight, all the way to retirement. It's one of these things of, hey, Kamaru, let us know. What do you want to do? And I do feel like he goes in a few directions, and the times that he speaks up the most, and maybe it's just a coincidence, but it's right after the guy he says that he wants to fight just got booked to fight somebody else. So he does leaves a fan a little bit going, hey, I don't know what direction we're going. I personally, Daniel, will tell you, I love the idea of him at 185 pounds. I do think that he looked amazing with Khamzat Chimaev. I do think the best way in this sport to get a fresh coat of paint is to change weight classes. I thought that's what he was doing, but he didn't even make that clear for almost 12 months. It was almost 12 months before he let the audience know, I'm not going back to 85. So I just asked for a little bit of direction. When I was asked by you to speculate on Kamaru, it's all I could do because he has been anything but clear.
Yeah. So my thing with Kamaru is this: I would have hoped that he would have fought already because there was no losing in that Khamzat fight. He actually came out smelling like roses, even though he lost the fight because he fought him better than most had fought. Remember, Khamzat at that point had barely been pushed. Only Gilbert Burns had done anything successfully against him, and Khamzat looked so unbeatable that you didn't think that Kamaru Usman would be able to compete with him, especially on 10 days' notice. So he had that momentum after that fight, even in losing, and then he kind of waits. The problem with waiting is that time does not wait for you. And Kamaru Usman has had a long fighting career, but he put a lot of miles on his body in wrestling. And that's where the problem becomes for a guy that's kind of waiting. But you could also look at it as took the time away to get healthy, to be refreshed, let his body recover. So there are some options for Usman. I don't know that he can say to Sean Brady, I want to fight you because of what Sean Brady just did to Leon Edwards. I think Sean Brady finds himself in a situation where Shavkat is fighting for the belt next. We know that. No, sorry, Jack Della Maddalena is fighting for the belt. So Shavkat, Brady, and Buckley all have a claim. So I think those guys have to be matched up in some sort of way. I would like to see Usman fight Buckley. I think that's the fight. I think it would be a fun fight, and I think it's a fight that Kamaru could potentially put himself back into contention. But again, every day that passes for the older fighter is a day lost, and it moves you a little bit further away from the desired goal. So I'm a great friend of Usman, and we love him, but we need to get some direction, and we need to know what he's going to do next. So, Chael, I just short-circuited there. I'm just talking and it's just like a robot, just messed up, man. It's really messed up at times. Guys,
Are you going and playing golf with your fancy schmancy golf friends later today? You haven't mentioned golf in a while. Or do you just keep that from me since you never invite me?
We're doing that in Miami. I'm playing some golf in Miami. Chael, I'm going to shoot you a text message. I've got some big news for you on the wrestling front after. But Chael, hey, Thursday, you and I, back for another good episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy.
Are we going to discuss the big stuff? Is it Portal? Are we talking about Portal stuff?
The Portal is just too much for me. I can't do the Portal, Chael. I'm over the Portal. After what Nasir Bailey and Jordan Williams just left to go to Iowa, the portal's insane. And how about the kid going to Penn State that was in the NCAA finals from Ohio State?
Yes.
Like, it's just too much. Somebody get this portal under control. Guys, for Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. Until next time, peace.